Happy TOPPS 2023 Series 1 release week. We're going to be diving into the design of TOPPS Series 1 and also see what TOPPS has to say about this year's flagship design. If you don't know, along with launching TOPPS Series 1, TOPPS also launched a new website called TOPPS Ripped that touts itself as the definitive resource for card collectors. I'm going to add a little disclaimer, it's also marketing. They're trying to market TOPPS cards to people. That's what the website is about. So while it's exciting to see TOPPS put out some kind of behind the scenes information, I was a little underwhelmed with what they got into, the detail they got into. I really love seeing like behind the scenes information, rough drafts, how an idea gets turned into reality. There's not a lot of that. There's some of it that we'll be talking about. We're going to talk about this article, Behind the Design of TOPPS Baseball, Visualizing 2023 Series 1. It doesn't get into the level of nitty-gritty that I would have liked it to, but there are a few nuggets I wanted to talk about. So the first thing I wanted to call out, John Dolden, the art director of TOPPS Baseball, said the design, like the goal for Series 1s is to try and make something that looks like TOPPS and has the feel of the TOPPS brand, but is also something unique and different from the past 70 years. That's a great quote, and it makes sense, but I feel like you could just recycle that quote every single year. They're going to try to make something that feels like TOPPS and it's going to be unique from the past 70 years. So I just thought that was interesting. The next thing I saw down here was the fonts on the base card are clean, chosen primarily for maximum legibility. And I feel like that's definitely TOPPS listening to the feedback from 2021 where lots of people had difficulty reading the font. And so I feel like that was specific, like they're making a point that they're trying to make it maximum legibility. We're going to get into this paragraph. Some astute collectors have noticed that TOPPS has featured dual photo cards every 20 years, and 2023 simply marks the next turn in the rotation. But according to Fullerton, that's the brand manager of TOPPS, that's a total coincidence. I'm going to call BS on that because it doesn't make any sense. You had it in 63, 83, 2003, and 2023. And the fact that they added the portraits on here just being a total coincidence does not make any sense. They also are talking about how they're going back and looking at previous designs to make sure it looks like TOPPS and stuff like that. So they've got to know that that was intentional. It doesn't make sense to me that they don't just own that. They're like, yeah, we do this every 20 years. Maybe they don't want to lock themselves in for 20 years from now. Saying that it's a total coincidence, I don't believe that at all. Well, let's look back at those other iterations. So here's our 2023 design. We can see Mike Trout. He doesn't have a shape around him. We're going to go back to 2003. You can see there's a diamond shape around Ivan Rodriguez. If we go back further to 83, one of my favorite designs, we have a circle as well as 63. Here's a circle. So here's kind of the lineage of this type of design with the portrait on the card. I feel like there's other sets that did it, but specifically 63, 83, 2003, and then 2023. Some things I noticed about this design that was interesting. When you're designing something, you have to make sure the crops are all consistent. So, for example, as you can see, the eye line, which is very important, you're drawn to someone's eyes when you're looking at a picture. The eye line is very consistent right about the bottom of the white line here, as you can see there. And also the top of the head and the chin are about the same. So no matter if you have a big head or a small head, they're all getting cropped to fit in this specific area. That creates consistency among the designs. Another thing I noticed, you want someone's eye to follow the design when you're designing something. So let's say I'm drawn to Mike Trout's eyes here. Well, the next thing I'm drawn to is this white line because we've got a lot of information up here, a lot of information here, but this white line is causing my eye to follow that. We see the team name. Then my eyes going down here, I process all this information here. Then once we have another eye, we have another line going this way. You want the design to create kind of a circular motion for someone's eyes to follow. And I think they did a good job doing that. The eye line definitely kind of leads to the rest of the elements of the design and kind of creates that circular thing. Just my guess, but I feel like that's what they were going for. Maybe why they have some of these angles going back the other way to kind of create that loop. When talking about this design before, I also feel like this nameplate definitely reminds me of Key and Peele and their sketch of the player intros. Jack Marius Tech Theratrix. I think that was pretty good. But you can see similar thing where you've got, you know, the name, portrait, lots of things going on in the background. Similar like this, where you've got a lot of design elements, the same kind of like logo in the background, lots of shapes and different things like that. So that is where I feel like they got probably some of the inspiration behind this nameplate. Going back to the article, they also talked about more kind of fan reaction to the designs and saying that both Dolan and Fullerton both said that they were pleased with the positive reception to 2022 Series 1, which was part of the reason they stuck with white borders. That leads me to believe that TOPPS does listen and take some feedback with their designs, which is interesting. Another thing that they mentioned is that my goal as an editor is to pull images that are indicative of the player, that represents the energy that they bring to the game. When you see a card, I want you to feel like you're there. And that's something I definitely noticed from some of these examples. And I think that has a lot to do with the crop. If you're not familiar with what a crop is, it's basically taking an image and removing some of the outer sides to focus on what's important. And as you can see here, all of these crops are from the knees up. And so you're getting a lot of the player, a lot of the action. You don't necessarily need to see Riley Green's entire leg here. They're focusing on what's most important. And so you get a larger image, so it seems closer to you, more exciting. Julio Rodriguez looks like he's running at you. It's not like far away. Now you get some of those images in Stadium Club where it's more cinematic or photographic, where, you know, you might get more of the field and stuff like that. But with these, you can definitely tell that they're focusing on energy, that type of thing. They did a good job with that because you can definitely tell the energy. I'm going to show you some crops where you don't get that same feel of energy. And the first one is, I believe this is 88 score, but Bruce Benedict here does not look super exciting. Look how much real estate this bat is taking up. If you had cropped this a little tighter, maybe, you know, like that, your eye is going to realize, okay, that's a bat. I don't need to see the entire bat. I'm going to recognize that it's a bat and believe that he's holding a bat. He maybe takes up less than 50% of the actual card. So I would say this is a poor crop. People often say, you know, Donruss, I don't mind that they don't have the logos, that type of thing. One problem I also have with Donruss and Panini products, at least the Panini baseball products, is that they don't have the logos, but they also use photos that make it easier to Photoshop out the logos. So this Chris Bryant card, he is covering up the Giants logo, so someone doesn't have to do as much work to Photoshop that out. And it's just kind of a boring photo overall. You know, he's just standing there. He's also sharing the card with an umpire in the background. This isn't the most exciting picture of Chris Bryant you could possibly get. And when you compare that to some of these, you know, more action shots where it's zoomed in, they're not so concerned about covering up the logos, that type of thing. Also on Donruss cards, you see like a lot of the back swings where you see the player's name across the back, again, so they don't have to Photoshop out the logos, that type of thing. When you see a card, I want you to feel like you're there. And from the photos I've seen, the breaks that I've seen so far, I feel like they did a good job of really highlighting a lot of action, that type of thing. And that was kind of all I wanted to talk about the design and kind of gleaning what they were talking about from this article. If you want to check it out, ripped.topps.com. I'm going to give my grade for TOPPS 2023 Series 1. We're going to go legibility. I'm going to give them a 4. I feel like they did a pretty good job of picking fonts that are easily readable. My only critique would be that sometimes, you know, yellow on white here isn't the best look. They could have probably gone a little darker so that the name stood out. I think they did a good job picking a font that was readable for the team name, and it wasn't the same font where it would be underneath the player's head. For the color scheme, I'm going to give the color scheme a 4. I feel like they did a pretty good job. Probably more contrast. I know they probably want the logo to stand out, but I could have seen this be a little bit darker so that the portrait and the name doesn't get as lost in the design of the logo, that type of thing. That'd be my only critique. I really love when they do team colors matching the design as opposed to back in the day when it was like, why is this card green? Third of the set was green. So that's what they did. So I like how They have the team color matching the design. Design elements, I'm going to give a 4. I think they did a good job, just like last year, of bringing in different elements that remind you of baseball. We have a plate kind of shape here, stars for all stars, that type of thing. I'm not a big fan of this drop shadow down here. I realize it might be just kind of an anchor for the design, but I feel like it could either be lighter or even removed and it'd be just as nice. Like, I don't feel like you could be losing much without that there. I really do like how they have the white just kind of sticking out here for the parallels. So it's like the top of the card's border is parallel, but you still have white here. It looks sharp, especially on like the rainbow foils, that type of thing. Overall design, I am going to give it a 5. I think they did a great job, especially incorporating the portraits in a new and different way that they have been in the past. I could see some people drawing some parallels to this. Looks maybe too much like a big league design or something like that, but I feel like the quality of photos and a lot of the energy that they bring, and how I was talking about the circular design, I just feel like they did a good job. The same thing with last year. Not everything's perfect. Like I wouldn't say this is a perfect design, but as far as a flagship design, I feel like they hit everything they needed to differentiate it, but make it unique. So I'll give them a 5 on that. Collectability, I'm going to give them a 5 as well. These cards are just kind of fun. Like I like how the portraits there, it adds something along with the team logo. It just is a fun design. Will we get tired of it by Topps update? Probably. But right now, I feel like it's fun. I'm going to give it collectability of 5. So that gives me a score of 22 out of 25. Pretty quality product. Let me know what you think of the design in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to rock and roll!